All right. Welcome back. Wherever you are listening to this right now, welcome back to another quarantine chat. I am excited to be welcoming in today's chat with Bobby Carpenter. Anybody out there that knows Bobby, Buckeye football star, former number one, first round draft pick of the Dallas Cowboys, local radio sensation star with Anthony Rothman. Also a father, a husband, a six-egg omelet eater. Anytime we've gotten together in the last couple of years for breakfast, sit down and this guy orders huge omelets. Bobby, great to see you and chat with you while we're here in quarantine.
Pleasure, Jason. Thanks for inviting me. Give me something to do, man, instead of just staring at the walls all day.
I'm interested in from the perspective of, you obviously with your job at ESPN, being close to Ohio State, certainly your experience with Coach Tressel and the Cowboys and the Patriots over the years. What are players and coaches right now in this time of quarantine isolation? The offseason is oftentimes the time where you're developing people and you're building those relationships and oftentimes building that culture and setting that foundation for the season, for the culture. What are you seeing teams doing? Are there creative things that are being done right now? Because I mean, it's about me. I just think that's huge. That's everything.
Yeah, so the off season, you don't win any games in the off season, but the old adage is you can certainly lose them. And so this is the off season for really any sport is for personal development, but then also for team development, because that's when your identity is formed
Yep.
of, who's kind of, fill into what role, how people are developing these interpersonal relationships that you're going to have. And on these larger teams, like for football, for instance, you have 53 guys, like every person has 52 different relationships. And so you start, extrapolating that, but to every single person, there's so many different relationships that need to be forged, that need to be bonded. And so it's tougher to do that when you're obviously not with them. Now, that being said, thankfully that we've got these wonderful, digital cameras, we've got the high speed internet. And so people are more connected, I guess, or have the ability to connect now more than ever, but it takes work. And it's easy
It
to
does.
just sit down and get get into your hole and get into a rut and say, this is kind of what I'm doing. And I'm, doing what I want to do, as opposed to reaching out and trying to foster some sort of community, some sort of, team building relationships where even that might be one of the things. John Tortorella, who's the Blue Jackets coach who we have on our show every Wednesday, like he started having these quizzes and like there's races to see who can get them done first. And he has these unbelievable conditioning tests that are historic and everybody always talks about them.
Yeah.
They're legendary. And so whoever gets it done first can get like 2 laps knocked off of their conditioning. And they're able to then give that to someone else on the team. Like it's a zero-sum game where take 2 off me, give 2 to someone else. So you make
Nice.
it competitive. Guys go back and forth with it. And so that's the best way to kind of foster that community, because we're such a species that crave interactions, and you don't
That's right.
realize it until it's been completely taken away. And so, my dad's a high school football coach. They have, their Zoom, coaches meetings. And if
Yeah.
that's like, 10, 12 guys sitting around and, talking a little bit, and maybe it's like kind of a happy hour-ish theme as well, but it's just the community, the storytelling, and there's some work being done too, but it's just understanding the people that are around you, because when you invest in the people around you and they invest into you, you're going to have a better experience with them. You're going to have a better feeling with them, and you're going to do your job better because of how much you care about those people.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I mean, culture is co-created, and we all share in the creation of that. And every single person in the ecosystem of a team or an organization, by the way they think, act, and interact, and those shared experiences that you're talking about, that's what shapes that culture. So, in this time when we're supposed to be sheltering in place or social distancing, that shared experience, you're gonna, teams and organizations are having to get creative about how do we then keep that shared experience and continue to help each other develop and build those relationships.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to figure out like what your bedrock, your core principles are, and a lot of other things, you can shut off or peel off. And it's forced me to kind of adapt a little bit my life. And what's interesting is, everybody in every company, every team, every family unit is going to that are highly different. And like, so you have to understand and realize, like, and I think people are starting to realize that there's different strengths of different people. You might perceive it to be a weakness in one area, but then put into another situation, that same perceived like weakness turns into a strength, and other people's strengths then can convert to weaknesses because their failure to adapt. And so that's one of the things that I've learned in this and watched. And I've kind of trying to like work in these different ways and understand the different mindsets of people is incredibly important.
Well, and that's every group of humans on the planet, right? That's every team for sure. And it reveals itself in marriage as well. But that's every group of humans on the planet is we all are wired slightly differently, and we all navigate our way through it, and we all see it slightly differently, and we all have different strengths and weaknesses. And so I guess the beauty of that when it does coexist is when we start to do what you're describing, which is how do we bring out the best and raise the level of our gifts and our strengths, that we are in an environment that brings out the best of us, and that we're able to then lift up the strengths and respond to the others that bring something to the table that we don't have. And that, my guess is, I think about this kind of stuff all the time, and I know you do too, but to step back and to look at the most successful teams, that's what you see. You see groups of people that aren't all the same, but have come together, and they have a shared vision and a shared value system, but yet different gifts that they bring to the table.
No, it's absolutely the truth. And I don't know if this would be the right conjugation, homogeneous populations. Like that sounds great where it's one size fits all. But the beauty is in America is the diversity that we have and understanding that. And so it's going to be diverse within, like you said, within family units. It's going to be diverse within teams. It's going to be diverse within different business structures. And so embracing other people's strengths and learning. And like right now, when you have time by yourself, and this is one thing I think that people probably are getting real scared, and you worry a little bit about the mental state of people, because when you're quiet and you're alone with your thoughts, there's a deep, dark, long look at introspection and like beginning to realize like how you operate as a person, and what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how have you just tried to gloss over and hide some of them, as opposed to maybe try to strengthen some of those weaker areas. Since you can't drive anywhere really, everybody's just locked at home, like you've got extra time. Like I guarantee you the average person's probably picked up at least an hour that they would normally spend in their car during the day, that you can now be more productive with that time. So like, don't just waste it sitting in front of the television. Like try to find a way to utilize it and make yourself better.
Yeah. And I think, there's studies and stuff that prove this, but even just the allowing ourselves to step back and to allow ourselves to quiet the noise and the incessant rush that we have every single day, and to allow ourselves to sit and then intentionally say, okay, what do I want to give my focus and my attention to? And to allow myself to then say, okay, well, what do I want to learn? What do I want to take in? What's the input that I'm going to, because we're so focused on the outputs so much of our lives that right now we have a built-in time that is discomfortable, for many people. It brings discomfort to the surface because we're used to running around and being so busy. But the reality is, when we step back, if we allow ourselves to intentionally sit in that space, then we also have the opportunity to say, okay, well, what do I want to give my attention to? And what do I want to learn? And what am I open to? And you're right. We have this gift of time that sometimes doesn't always feel like a gift, but it is.
Time is the most precious gift, Jason, that you can have. It is. I tell people this all the time. Anytime that I speak, I always try to weave it in somehow, because time is the most precious commodity in the world. It is the only commodity that cannot be bought, sold, or traded. It is perishable by the second. We do everything about everything that you do to try to create more time. People have, they'll pay people to watch their kids so you can go out for a date. They'll pay to have someone mow your grass. You have Uber so someone can drive you so you can work while you're doing this. You fly in an airplane and spend more money than it would be to drive so you can pick up time. Everything we do centers around trying to create that 25th hour in the day that doesn't exist. So when you have these spare hours over the course of your normal 24 that you wouldn't normally have, like it is such a blessing, and it is such a gift, because whatever point in time, like you're never as young as you're going to be at this point in time. Like you're getting older by the second. So find a way to try to utilize that. And it's a scary proposition when you think about it, and think that all the things that we try to do to try to create that extra time, and then so often we waste so much of the extra time that we've created. So find a way, like the intentionality, which you said, which is, I love that point, because if you're not intentional, I mean, you're just going to wander around.
The journey that you will go on, if you are intentionally going in a direction that you are actively choosing rather than just passively going, the journey itself and the process of going in that direction, there will be things revealed to you and to us that will add value and contribute to the vitality of your life.
I like that. Vitality of your
Look at
life.
that.
Sounds
That sounds,
energetic,
yeah.
inspirational. Like when I think of vitality, I think of someone like jumping in a cold pool, like in the summer. Like that's what it's so invigorating. It feels so wonderful to kind of like, just like a shot of energy. And so
Yeah.
that you're right on that, man. It's dead on. And I love to think about it like that.
Bobby, great to see you. Awesome to just get a few minutes to chat. Thanks for jumping on. I know you got all kinds of stuff going on, and love what you're doing with ESPN and on the radio, and then certainly everything else you're doing. So thanks for jumping in. Anybody out there listening, I hope you'll continue to chime in and keep following on the social media platforms at Jason V. Barger. And then also be paying attention to the Thermostat with Jason Barger podcast that's coming out weekly. And check that out. Everybody out there, stay safe, be well. And thanks for joining Bobby and I on a quarantine chat. Take care.